Before we start, just a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. Only 2% are subscribed at 1,000 subscribers. I'll be posting a special video. Her fingers hooked my belt loop and yanked me closer. I caught the counter edge with my hip. Her mouth came in fast like a dare. I angled my chin away and felt heat. Footsteps crossed the hall and kept going. I'm Mark, 34, and I should have shouted. I didn't shout because surprise stole breath. She smiled like we shared a joke. I kept my hands visible and open. This is the moment that detonated everything. Come on, her whispers scratched my ear. Her palm slid to my wrist and squeezed. I pulled free and planted my forearm. Stop, I said, calm and hard. The word hung there like a pulled pin. Noise from the living room rose and dipped. A bottle popped and someone cheered. We were 3 strides from the doorway. She glanced that way and laughed low. I tasted trouble and chose distance. I stepped around her and she pivoted. Her arm swept the counter and a glass toppled. It shattered sharp and fast under my shoe. She jerked back and clutched her chest. Are you serious? She breathed just loud enough. She grabbed her phone and lifted the screen. Camera up, eyes wet, lips trembling on command. Why would you do that? She whispered. The words aimed at the hallway like bait. I felt the trap spring before it closed. I pulled my phone and opened our thread. My thumbs moved before the fear caught up. Don't touch me again, do not try that. I hit send and watched the timestamp. Receipt logged, thin insurance against a storm. She slid between me and the door. You wanted this first, she murmured, chin high. Everyone knows how you look at me. Her nails tapped her phone like a metronome. Her confidence felt rehearsed and dangerous. Footsteps returned and paused outside the doorway. She blinked tears and lifted her shoulders. I raised both hands and took one step. Back up, I said loud and steady. Silence pressed closer from the hall. You're shaking, she liked that detail. Because you know what you did. My chest thudded and my jaw locked. I remembered every petty dig she'd thrown. None mattered compared to this ambush. A shadow crossed the threshold and vanished. We had seconds before witnesses and noise. I placed my phone face up on steel. Her reflection bent in the microwave door. Proof maybe if the angle saved me. She leaned in until her breath brushed skin. Say you started it, she whispered, eyes flat. I stared past her at our warped shapes. My body wanted to freeze or swing. I chose the third option and spoke. Move aside, my voice landed like gravel. She didn't move, she only tilted her head. From the hall came a cough and hush. I let fear burn into focus and purpose. Move now or we get the family. She didn't move, she lifted her chin and screamed. The cry tore across the hall like an alarm. Shoes scuffed outside and a shadow jumped closer. I dropped my hands to my sides open. This was the pivot I feared right now. My arm, she clutched her wrist and staggered. A figure filled the doorway and froze. What happened here? His voice hit the tiles. Anna leaned against the frame and sniffed hard. I felt the room tilt toward her. You grabbed me, she pressed the words like charges. I didn't argue because panic wins volume. Let's step out, I said, eyes on her phone. The cousin blocked half the opening and waited. He looked at me like I was armed. I set my phone flat and tapped the screen. A message glowed on top of the thread. Don't ever touch me again, time-stamped. Her eyes flicked to it then away. Fake, she muttered, thin and shaky. Then show yours, I said and reached. She hugged the device to her chest. The cousin shifted and cleared his throat. You two need witnesses, he said slowly. Witnesses meant records, which I wanted. We moved into the living area in silence. Conversations stopped like someone killed the music. She let tears hang and pointed at me. He cornered me near the sink, controlled breath. Gasps answered her, the tide turned hard. I pictured the reflection I had noticed. Angles mattered more than opinions in this house. A minute, I said, voice steady with effort. Let's check something on the metal door. Nobody moved, which helped more than words. I walked back in plain view, hands raised. Anna hovered behind me with the cousin. I angled the door and held my camera. Stand where you were, I told her. If she refused, that would say enough. She stepped too close and wiped her face. Her shoulders squared, performance back in place. I positioned myself like before and waited. A murmur buzzed from the room behind. The cousin watched without blinking, useful pressure. I hit record and leaned my body backward. Her outline leaned forward across the steel. Not perfect video, yet clear enough for shapes. Freeze, the cousin lifted a palm between us. The hallway went quiet like a held breath. Play that again, his jaw flexed and clicked. He took the phone and watched twice. Let's see. Pass slowed him down visibly. He looked at her and then at me. Doubt settled in around the edges. Anna changed tactics fast and fierce. He threatened me after the grab, she trembled. Check his tone earlier, she pointed at my phone. My pulse quickened because tone was subjective. I needed structure, not theater, not tone. I opened the chat history for all eyes. My first line stood blunt and dated. Her reply followed with casual bravado. Relax, you liked it, that exact phrasing again. Mara stepped in from the balcony, silent. Her gaze ran across both screens. Who touched first, she asked without emotion. The cousin gestured toward the captured figures. From what I see, he pulled away. Mara exhaled once, then looked at her sister. Anna pivoted again with a wince. He hurt my wrist when he twisted. She held it up and rubbed the skin. No swelling, just pressure marks from her grip. Mara's mouth tightened and she waited. I felt small relief try to surface. I pushed it down because we weren't done. Group chat needs context, I said finally. Mara nodded like a verdict had landed. Anna stared at the doorway like escape existed. Not yet, the cousin warned with a stare. Everyone in this room confirms order first. He lifted his own phone for a photo. Frames of the door are positions, the time. Evidence lived longer than outrage, and he knew it. Anna made one last move at confusion. She tugged her sleeve and scratched the skin. Tiny lines bloomed across the forearm. Mara stepped closer and caught her wrist. Stop, she clipped, and the cousin saw everything. I realized my hands had stopped shaking. Focus replaced the churn with something colder. I wasn't defending myself anymore, not only. I was documenting a pattern in real time. That clarity scared me more than her scream. Mara turned to the family gathered near. We send the files tonight, she said. No summaries, just recordings and screenshots. The room shifted toward process over gossip. Anna's eyes flashed like a door slamming shut. I pocketed my phone and met her glare. She mouthed a promise I had expected. This would go public and get ugly. I braced for the next message blowing up. Because the blast always comes after silence. The blast hit at once, phones buzzing in every pocket. A new message bannered the family thread with her wording. He assaulted me in the kitchen, then a crying selfie. Reactions exploded and questions stacked fast like falling tiles. I felt my jaw lock while Mara stared ahead. Post the clip, Mara's shoulders squared like she'd trained for this. I opened the reel of the mirrored door without comment. She trimmed the start and slowed the lean at impact. No captions, her finger hovered then pressed send. The room listened to silence that arrived like a verdict. Within seconds, replies pivoted from outrage to hedging. Looks complicated, we need context, maybe angles mislaid. Anna fired back with new flair and a bandaged wrist. He twisted me, the camera framed a fresh scratch. Mara pointed at the cousin and nodded toward the hallway. Collect versions from anyone who saw positions, her voice carried steel. The cousin dispatched two relatives like runners on a task. Doors opened and low voices traded recollections under breath. I pulled our text thread and highlighted the early warning. That single line might not stop what came next. Anna shifted tactics again and tagged the parents directly. Please protect me, she dropped a photo of her forearm. Her followers chimed in with sympathy and all-caps demands. Take him out of the group and call the police. Mara's chin lifted like a drawbridge locking into place. We answer once more, her thumb hovered over the keyboard. Short, factual, timed, she drafted 3 lines with care. Recording attached, prior message attached, witness present, then she paused. Ready, her eyes asked if I feared escalation. I nodded because backing down meant losing everything. We hit send together like pulling a cord. For a breath, nothing moved except my heartbeat. Then a ping from an aunt who watched details. I can see him leaning away, clear words in text. Another relative echoed the angle with cautious certainty. Anna responded by detonating a wider circle online. She screenshotted our faces and posted a longer caption. Comments stacked in seconds with strangers ready to judge. Classic predator, believe women, protect survivors, the spiral spun. Mara grabbed my wrist and pulled me to the balcony. Breathe, she put my phone in her pocket for minutes. I handle inside, she stepped back through the sliding door. I looked at the glass and pictured our warped outlines again. How close it had come to flipping permanently. How one invented bruise could undo every boundary. The cousin joined me with his own update. She deleted your first text from her screenshots, he smirked. I captured both display. Wise side by side for reference. He swiped through frames like a quiet prosecutor. This will matter when the room cools down. We returned to find another twist waiting. Anna had created a poll in the thread. Who feels safe around him? Options were loaded. Mara reported it for harassment and turned to me. You good to call the next move? Make a consolidated folder, my voice came out steady. Video, messages, photos from the door, all chronologically. Mara's hands worked quick and deliberate over the screen. The cousin airdropped his sequence without a word. I added my notification log with visible times. Anna tried one final lure before the clock struck. Meet me alone and we fix this quietly. She sent the location ping and an hour window. I felt anger rise and then settle into focus. No private meetings, I typed it and hit send. Mara lifted her eyebrows like a challenge had arrived. We go together, she grabbed keys and held the door. Public place, we record audio up front, no hesitation left. The cousin slid his jacket on with that same intent. We stepped into the corridor as phones kept vibrating. In the elevator, Mara brushed my knuckles once. This won't be the end, her mouth barely moved. She was right because patterns repeat until stopped. I caught our reflection in the metal and swallowed hard. I knew the next scene would draw blood in another way. We walked straight to the table and laid our phones down. Audio on, Mara said, crisp and flat. I tapped record and watched the timer climb. Vlad adjusted his camera and angled it high. Anna slid into view with a smile too bright. No private talk, Mara warned, palms visible on wood. Anna rolled her eyes and leaned closer to me. Then you admit it, she breathed, voice just above a whisper. I kept my gaze on the recording indicator. Anna's grin faltered when it kept blinking. She pulled a chair and crossed her legs slow. Delete your post and we call it even. Vlad's thumb hovered, then he raised one eyebrow. Even for what, he asked, eyes on her hands. Her bracelet clinked once like a countdown. Both of you are embarrassing yourselves, she continued, chin lifted. Family will forgive me, not you, she tapped the table. Mara didn't blink, she only tilted her head. Then reject the files if they hurt you. Anna's lips tightened because that trap had teeth. Let's start fresh, Anna slid an envelope across. I didn't touch it because paper can be staged. Mara nudged it back with a finger. No gifts, her voice carried a calm warning. Anna laughed, too quick, too brittle. She angled her phone and turned on a live. Talking to my abuser, she announced, voice throbbing. Comments poured fast and chased our names. Vlad lifted his camera and captured her screen. Thanks for documenting yourself, he murmured with a nod. End the stream, Mara's jaw flexed once. Anna pouted for the audience and leaned nearer. Look how close he sits, she told them. I pushed my chair back and created a gap. The chat scrolled harder like falling gravel. I will read one comment, Anna declared, volume rising. Make him apologize, she pointed at me with flourish. Apologize for what, I asked, hands flat. For cornering me, she held her phone higher. Vlad filmed her angle and mine side by side. She tried another gambit and brushed my forearm. See, she gasped for the viewers, he touched me. Vlad snorted and replayed the last second. Her wrist bumped mine, her gasp followed after. The live chat stumbled, then asked for rewinds. Mara leaned in slightly and spoke like a judge. We have video from the appliance door. Your lien is visible, she kept her tone steady. Admit it now and we minimize fallout. Anna's eyes flicked quick, calculating. Anna dropped the live and stared at me. Tell your wife you wanted me first. Her nails clicked the case like tiny hammers. Say it on tape so we can end this. I stared back until the silence grew teeth. You staged a new scratch, Mara added, barely above a whisper. Vlad recorded you marking it with your sleeve. Anna's smile broke, then reformed with effort. You can't prove intent, she answered, shoulders squaring. Intent shows in patterns, Mara countered, cool and patient. Anna reached for the envelope again and slid it over. It's a letter from Mom, she offered, voice softening. Begging peace, she looked down and breath shallow. I recognized the angle and the plea beneath it. Vlad opened the envelope with 2 fingers and frowned. Inside sat a printed poll from the group chat. A second page showed a list of reactions. No letter, only numbers meant to wound. Mara took a photo and passed it back. Anna's jaw twitched like a misstep on ice. Here is my offer, Mara folded her hands. You retract everything in writing tonight. You send it to the entire thread. You acknowledge the kiss attempt on record. Or we involve counsel by morning. Manuel awed and clapped once like it entertained her. You think anyone will back you in court? Look at me, she threw out both arms. Juries follow face and fear, she leaned forward. Vlad chuckled and lifted the mirrored video. He played the clip without sound at quarter speed. Her silhouette pitched forward as mine braced. The still frame caught her hand closing on me. Mara paused the playback and looked up. Face and fear also follow frames. Anna glanced around as if hunting for support. No allies appeared, only the steady lens. Her breathing sharpened enough to betray strain. Fine, she whispered, barely moving her mouth. Draft it for me and I'll sign. Your words, Mara replied, sliding a notepad over. 3 lines, unambiguous, time-stamped. Anna picked up the pen and held it tight. The pen scratched, but not yet in confession. She stared at me like I could save her. I will add 1 sentence, I replied, voice level. You agree to no contact for 90 days. Mara nodded once and watched the pen tip. Anna's shoulders rose and fell as if weighing cliffs. She wrote the first word and stopped again. Before ink could trap her, a new ping hit. Her screen flashed with a fresh notification. A relative posted our clip to a wider circle. Anna recoiled like the table shocked her wrist. This is harassment, she snapped, volume spiking. Vlad's eyebrow climbed and he aimed his phone. Public stream equals public response, he countered. Your live already named him on camera. Anna shoved the notepad away and stood up. We're done here, she barked, eyes burning. Mara stayed seated and counted to 3. Then we send the package to everyone, she said. Parents first, employers if needed next. Anna's mouth opened, then closed around that threat. She sat again, slower, angrier. Give me the exact phrasing, she muttered, looking down. Mara dictated simple lines with surgical calm. I misrepresented events, I initiated unwanted contact, I retract accusations. Anna wrote each word like it cut her fingers. She signed, then snapped a photo for us. Now the no contact clause, I reminded, tapping the pad. Anna scrawled the term with a jerky stroke. She added the 90 days with the current date. Mara photographed the page and backed it up. Vlad emailed the files to 3 addresses at once. Anna stared at the signature like it betrayed her. What do I get in return, she asked, voice flat. You get distance, Mara answered without blinking. You get a chance to handle therapy on your clock. You get us off your stage. Anna stuffed the pen away and stood, rigid and pale. Try to ruin me and I burn it all, she hissed. Threats never scared me like evidence missing did. We already had what we needed to hold ground. Still, I felt the next fight forming. We left in pairs and kept our devices rolling. Mara squeezed my fingers once as we walked. Home upload hard copies, she listed, purposeful. I nodded and matched her pace without looking back. Because fire retreats first, then searches for new oxygen. The uploads spun and ticked upward while printers hummed. Mara labeled folders and mirrored them to 2 drives. I verified timestamps and checked hashes like a ritual. Every copy meant one less way the truth could vanish. The doorbell rang hard enough to rattle my chest. Two officers stood square with bodycams blinking red. Complaint of assault, the taller one announced without preface. Everyone safe right now, the other asked, eyes forward. Mara unlocked her phone and set it face up. I'm recording, she added, and their nods felt procedural. Statements first, the notepad came out smooth and official. Any injuries observed tonight, the taller one asked. None here, Mara answered, hands visible on the table. Evidence to share, the other prompted, already watching angles. I opened the archive and cued the mirror capture. They watch with that clipped focus cops use on scenes. Pause, zoom, scrub back, note the contact sequence. My jaw stayed still while their posture shifted. Save copies to our drive, the taller one requested. Time and date preserved, I confirmed, keeping my voice level. A knock sounded again before we finished the transfer. Anna stepped in behind our neighbor with a stiff rap. Arrest him, she blurted, pointing with theatrical precision. Her gaze flitted to the cameras and then to me. The room held its breath for the next move. Did you sign a retraction tonight? The shorter one asked. Anna blinked twice like a light flickering under strain. It was forced, she declared, hand hovering over the bandage. We have the meeting recorded, Mara answered, tone steady. Would you like to review that portion now? Turn it off, Anna snapped, chin lifting out of reflex. The officer shook his head and clicked his pen. Not how this works, he replied, evenly and direct. I pulled the audio file and slid it closer. Her own scent. Tenses filled the room like a spotlight. The taller one listened and watched her expression harden. Any threats during this conversation? He asked without looking up. Mara folded her arms and waited for the pause. No threats, I answered, paused, then pointed to the timeline. She proposed secrecy and I refused private meetings. Anna pivoted fast and slapped a new tactic down. They edited that, she insisted, eyes shining with challenge. Play it next to your bodycams then, Mara offered calmly. The officers exchanged a glance that carried quiet calculation. We will take copies and verify chain, the tall one said. Another vibration hit the table like a warning drum. My screen lit with a warning from the platform moderators. Your names were posted with accusations, the notice read. Content under review for harassment, it continued with timestamps. I screenshot everything and flagged the source to the officers. Filing false reports is a chargeable offense, the short one stated. This is not a threat, this is information, he clarified. Do you wish to withdraw tonight's complaint? He asked. Anna stared at the rap and then at the lens. I want a lawyer, she breathed, trying to reset ground. That is your right, the tall one answered promptly. In the meantime, adhere to the no contact term. He looked at the signed page Mara had photographed. We also recommend you both seek protective orders. The suggestion carried weight and a quiet promise. Parents arrived mid-sentence with faces carved from fear. Her mother aimed for me while gripping a purse strap. Her father hovered at the threshold like a stalled engine. Stop talking, Anna hissed toward them without meeting eyes. The officers raised palms and created a thin boundary. We have recorded evidence, the short one informed the parents. Everyone will be heard in sequence, he continued with patience. Tonight remains about immediate safety and separation. He outlined the steps in the next appointments. The house felt like a courtroom built on carpet. They collected signatures and packed the drives into bags. Bodycams blinked once more before heading to standby. Expect contact from the detective unit tomorrow, came the closer. Do not engage with each other online, he added. The door closed behind them like a metal stamp. Silence crawled in for a breath and then broke. Anna's mother reached for Mara and stopped midway. Is there any path back? She asked, voice hushed. Mara glanced at me and then at the signed page. Boundaries first, she replied, and the air tightened. Anna pressed her lips together and scanned the room. She spotted the stack of printed records near the edge. Those are illegal copies, she blurted with sudden heat. Mara placed a hand on the folders and didn't blink. Lawyer has cloud access, she said, and that ended it. Her father gathered her toward the hallway in stiff steps. Come home tonight, he urged, almost pleading under breath. Anna yanked her arm free and glared at us. This is not finished, she hissed, eyes hard as nails. She left tracks of fury all the way to the stairwell. The door clicked shut and my shoulders finally dropped. I waited for calm to feel like relief again. It didn't, it felt like the pause before aftershocks. Mara slid the deadbolt and leaned her forehead against it. I hate that I expected this, she whispered without tears. We sat at the table and counted our steps forward. Restraining orders tomorrow, lawyer consult before noon. Send the evidence packet to a trusted relative. Remove our names from public pages and lock comments. Each line felt like a rung on a ladder above fire. My phone buzzed again with one last message from Anna. I will tell them you coerced the signature, it read. She's choosing escalation over truth, I said, voice flat. Mara opened the audio from the cafe and pressed play. Let her try, she said, and the recording kept breathing. The detective rang at 9 sharp and asked for files. Mara mirrored the archive while I drafted a timeline. I need a sworn statement today, the voice came steady. Include the cafe note and the no contact line. I felt resolve replace the last ragged fear. We headed to the precinct with copies in triplicate. A clerk walked us to a narrow conference room. The detective reviewed timestamps and marked 3 key moments. Her stream, the attempt, the written reversal, she counted. Anything new since officers left your place? I slid my phone across with a muted buzz. A burner profile had posted my company address publicly. Doxing, the detective muttered, writing without looking up. We will document and advise your employer immediately. A form emerged and my pen found lines. Halfway through signatures, a message lit Mara's screen. Withdraw the packet or I escalate, the text warned. No name, just a screenshot of our building lobby. Mara forwarded it to the detect. I've without a word. Threat attached, she said, jaw tight with control. The detective stood and called for an officer escort. You two leave by the back ramp, she ordered. Change routes for a week and vary departure times. On the way out, I realized something had shifted. We were no longer reacting, we were directing pressure. At the courthouse, we filed protective orders and waited. Across the aisle, Anna arrived with a private lawyer. She wore a calm mask that didn't reach her eyes. Her attorney glanced at our bundle, then at us. Any chance of mediation, he asked, voice oily. Mara shook her head once and placed the signed note. The judge read silently and tapped a line twice. This document acknowledges initiation and false claim, the judge read. He looked up and asked if it was contested. Anna swallowed and stared at the tabletop like it burned. The order issued with immediate effect and clear distance. Exchange of belongings through a third party only. No posts about each other under any account. Violations would trigger arrest without warning or debate. Anna's lawyer packed up in silence and left first. Outside, 2 relatives waited by the steps with folded arms. They asked for clarity without raising voices or hands. Mara offered the packet and nothing more than facts. They read in turns and nodded at the sequence. A soft apology reached us, careful and unfinished. Back home, we contacted HR and scheduled a briefing. I presented the court order and the detective's note. Security added my name to a watch list with flags. Photos of the involved party at the desk, they said. I walked out feeling protected and exposed in equal measure. That evening, a final rattle shook the group thread. Anna posted a long message about healing in space. No admission this time, only vague regrets and fatigue. Mara did not answer, I did not answer either. Silence felt like a tool we finally understood. 2 days later, her father asked for a meeting. Public place, daylight, 20 minutes only, he promised. We sat with waters and phones on the table. He apologized for his absence that night at our door. Then he handed over a small drive with a tremor. It's from her therapist, he said, eyes rimmed with worry. Intake notes she tried to delete from her email. I glanced at Mara and paused before touching anything. Give it to the detective unopened, Mara answered quickly. He agreed and pressed the plastic into my palm anyway. We walked straight to the station and turned it in. Chain of custody forms multiplied and signatures stacked. The detective skimmed a printed copy a few minutes later. Pattern of attention-seeking and boundary testing, she summarized. Not an excuse, helpful context for future hearings. On the third morning, the employment call arrived early. Legal confirmed our compliance and documented harassment claims. They offered counseling and a temporary remote schedule. I accepted and felt my shoulders drop an inch. Relief had a quieter sound than I remembered. Later that night, a final buzz cut through dinner. A new message from an unknown number blinked twice. "I will be better," the short line read. No apology, no admission, just that clipped vow. Mara blocked it and placed her phone face down. We stood in the kitchen where it had started. I could still see that first grab if I blinked. What I felt now wasn't rage, it was border. A hard edge that would hold even under storm. I closed the cabinet and let the quiet stand. Mara tapped the printout pinned above our list. Boundaries, consequences, documentation, she recited like a shield. "We keep these until they're boring again." I nodded because dull is a luxury after chaos. Outside, the night didn't answer, and that was fine. The detective called once more with a measured update. "Investigation moving forward," she noted, steady and contained. "No contact breaches so far," she added, equally contained. "Save everything for 90 days and breathe when you can." We promised we would and ended the call. I washed my hands and watched water track my knuckles. Not cleansing, more like rinsing off adrenaline and doubt. I wasn't the same man who froze at the sink. I had learned the sound of my own line. And I knew exactly how loud it needed to be.